My takeaway from Edgar Munhoz was very similar to my premise going in. And when I say I'm speaking for all of us. We were all wondering, what's Frankie going to look like at 135 pounds? And, there's so much pressure on Frankie. It wasn't just a guy going into a new weight. It wasn't just a guy getting a chance for a main event on ESPN. There was more on it. Look, Frankie has made it very clear, and we know Frankie well enough to know without him stating this or not, he's going to 135 to become the world champion. And the unspoken part is more along the lines of the pressure that's on his shoulders because there is a rare path to the title as it is. Right now, everything goes perfect. Never stubs his toe or skins his knee. Everything goes perfect. He is not guaranteed that shot. But the one thing he is guaranteed as sure as night follows day. If he suffers a loss at 135, that blueprint and that roadmap can be torn up. And that's just an age in conjunction with opportunity already given issue. Yes, he's had plenty of opportunity. Yes, he earned them. And yes, those opportunities are hard to come by. Now, as you get older and age, those opportunities get less and less. It's one of the reasons that 135 really was the place to be. His coaches have been saying it for years. They've been saying, look, as good as he does, what we see in the practice room is we see a better version of Frankie each time he keeps getting a little lighter. Now, for the rest of us, the masses that only get to see him on TV, that's kind of hard to imagine because we've seen him be the best in the world at the weight classes that he competes at, and none of which have been 135 pounds. But these stories have a way of being true, right? I mean, the rumors within MMA, people do know what they're looking at. And when you start to hear these words coming out of these gyms, particularly these mega gyms, like Frankie's they seem to be true. So I offer you this because Frankie's going in there with Munhoz. Munhoz does not have the biggest name, but he's got one of the biggest wins of the last couple of years, which was an upset KO over Cody. Okay, stage is set, they go in there, but make no mistake what this is about to Frankie. Now, Frankie can be right or wrong or indifferent, but like anybody, to be motivated and want to get out of bed in the morning, he has to see a path to get what he deems necessary. Frankie goes out there and fights. For me, there was a couple of questions. First off, is he going to mix it up? I don't know if we have seen a greater example of Frankie Edgar mixing it up than in recent memory than Frankie's contest with Yair Rodriguez. That to me was the perfect Frankie. Not just the outcome, but the perfect use of all of his skills. Frankie utilized his conditioning, he utilized his timing, he utilized his Division I wrestling, and he made everything work because of the threats of what many say is the best boxing that we have in all of MMA. But if he has just any one of those, he can win. When he brings 2 or 3 of those to the table, he's likely to win. And when he brings them all to the table, he can beat anybody alive. As simple as that may sound, there's a lot of things that must go into that for that all to come together. One is injury. I mean, real simple as that. And a lot of times you get a guy like Frankie Edgar, who's not in the excuse-making business. When he goes out and does something or leaves a tool behind that we all know he has and we all know would have really helped him in that moment, but he doesn't bring it, a lot of times he's got an injury. I mean, a lot of times when he's not changing elevation, firing, it's because those legs are lacking power because he's got something wrong with his knees. I don't have insider knowledge to that. I'm just suggesting for you. When you watch Frankie at his best, you see many, many things happening all at once. And when you see Frankie have a night, I look pretty good there. Hey, Frankie didn't look so great tonight. It's because he's bringing less and less of those skills that he uniquely possesses. When he goes in with Munhoz, I was wondering, same as you. How's Munhoz going to do in 5 rounds? How's Frankie going to do if he ends up in a shootout with a guy who's going to be the fastest guy he's ever fought? Frankie's a very quick guy, but as you take weight off, you get quicker. Sure you do, but so do they. And sometimes your eyes have to adjust. And no matter what you do in sparring and within practice, if you've got teammates that are to be trusted and valued, they're just sparring with you in practice. It does not turn into a fight, which is where the speed changes. And Frankie has one time to figure this out which is on the fly. Or he can mix it up. If he ever needs to feel what that speed is and ease into that bath, he doesn't just have to come out and okay, your lefts versus my lefts, your rights versus my rights. Let's see who has this. He can grab a guy, slow him down just a minute, hit that double leg, drag him down to the mat or attempt to, but often the threat. Once he offers the threat once or twice, boom, boom, he can come off of that, start landing some of his shots. But that's what's called mixing it up. It's what Frankie does so well, but it's not what Frankie does consistently every single time. I thought he did that, and I got to tell you, I thought Munhoz was as good as I thought he was. You want to talk about passing tests, Munhoz is now in the 5-round club. One thing that did surprise me as a viewer after that fight was some of the dialogue out there that the judges got the decision wrong. That surprised me. I thought that Frankie had won as many as 4 rounds. I didn't see a scenario where he lost where he didn't win more than 3. This is the same guy who's telling you that Max beat Volkanovski not just once, but twice. And the 6 guys collectively that matter said I saw the wrong fight. So I'm not wishing to rehash that. I'm just sharing with you some of the surprise that I had, questions I had going to the fight, questions that were answered within the fight for both guys. Munhoz, the story of him as the guy who caught Cody Garbrandt, okay. But he's now proved he's the real deal. He can fight, and he can fight with anybody. And Munhoz looked really good at that contest. And he looked really good over 5 rounds. Looked like he could have got a 6. Munhoz passes the test. His stock is up, in my opinion. Frankie's opportunity to fulfill Frankie's own goal with the pieces that he's laid out stays on track. And at the end of the day, that's really what it was, at least for Frankie. Frankie had any heat with Munhoz, but he does have a goal that he is working toward changing the physiology of his body, clearly getting the right training in. It was an experiment, but it was one that he and his coaches believed in. They even believed they waited too long. As of right now, fair play. What's next for Frankie? I think there's a lot of good options, and I don't know that it necessarily has to be somebody coming off a win. We're always going to have this Frankie, Jose Aldo, Dominic Cruz talk. 2 of those guys are coming off a loss. I like the idea of Jose Aldo versus Dominic Cruz. I like that very much. But if you wanted to tell me you were going to do Frankie and Dominic, boy, you got my attention.